are a confident woman, I gotta say. Have you always been that way? Was little Nabela, when she was in elementary school, was she that way? No?
No, younger Nabela was not confident in her own skin. And I think that I really struggled with self love. And that's why it became so important to me to share it when I discovered it. I grew up in a really small, predominantly white, conservative town that I still live in to this day. I grew up just wishing that I would wake up in the morning with blonde hair and blue eyes and my name be Rebecca. Like, that's all I wanted, was to just fit in, because I stuck out so much. I didn't think that what I was beautiful. I didn't think that it could be, because I didn't see it represented around me. So I did struggle with my self-love for majority of my like growing up life. And then I finally got to a point where I decided that I wasn't going to wait to love who I was and love my reflection. And it actually was social media that helped me discover that being different is beautiful.
Was there like a moment that you remember where you just were not confident?
When I would watch TV, there wasn't a brown girl that was the main character, right? There wasn't a girl, specifically Bangladeshi, South Asian, Muslim. I didn't see those stories celebrated around me. And so that did influence what I thought was normal and beautiful. When you pick up magazines and they're all blonde or brunette or white, you start to think that that's the standard of beauty. Even when I would crush on a boy when I was younger, I never thought that I could end up being with that boy, because that boy obviously would have to be with a white girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was just my processing. It was like, of course I can't have that, anything, whatever it was. Even if it was dreaming of like becoming a big star one day when I was younger, in my mind there was a voice that was like, that doesn't happen. Of course that's not for you. You're not Lizzie McGuire. You know what I mean? And so that just shaped my understanding of the world.
I think I had a distorted version of who I was. I remember when I was young, I ran up to my mom. I think I was in Montessori school, so preschool. And I ran up to her and I was like, Mom, there's this new kid in school and he has eyes like this. And my mom was like, yo, that's you.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, I was like a 3-year-old, so I had no idea what I was doing or who I was. And I think it wasn't until I saw Kill Bill that I was like, whoa, an Asian woman and a black woman are fighting. This is dope. And that was the first feeling of representation that I didn't realize I needed, I guess.
That's exactly it. You had to see it to believe it. For me, I started to feel like I could possibly be beautiful. And it wasn't even through seeing someone with the same background. It was That's So Raven. Because Raven was like the first who was curvy and she was a woman of color.
Yeah.
I'm watching Disney Channel all day, don't see anything that even remotely resembles me. And then Raven shows up and suddenly I'm like, wait a second, I can be the main character of my own story, That was really a big deal for me. And even to this day, there aren't characters like me on TV because there aren't South Asian stories celebrated in the mainstream. And I hope that I can help be a part of changing that, but it matters.
It so matters. So what made you decide to take the leap and build a brand?
Yeah, so I grew up, in a South Asian home with immigrant parents, first generation American. So I had pretty much a formula laid out for me of what I should be, who I should become. So naturally, my options were be a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, right? That's the pool that I can pick from. So I was going to school to be a lawyer and I wanted to work for the UN one day. Like, that was my dream. So, that was the dream that was the one that I selected out of the predetermined dreams for me.
I'll take
this one. I mean, I was very passionate about, and I did select something in the world of giving back and helping others, and that's why I really wanted to work for the UN. So anyway, I'm in college, and I'm getting ready to take my LSATs. I'm getting ready to prepare to enter law school. I told my mom, I was like, I'm just going to make these videos for fun, and I did. And they kind of blew up and took on a life of its own. This was my creative side that was just bursting, ready to come out. And so naturally I was just enjoying it, as my mom would call it, a hobby. Every time I had a creative urge my whole life, my mom was like, it can definitely exist in your life, but as a hobby. And so again, YouTube was my hobby. And then it just started to blow up more and more and more. It gets time for me to really take the law school thing seriously. And I just looked at my mom and I remember saying, like, just give me some time. I had my bachelor's and I did work in behavioral health and social work for a little bit before I then took the full leap. And I was like, I need to try this full time. And so I did. I decided I'm going to do this, and I started working with brands, developing my brand, and I haven't turned back.
You have always wanted to be an advocate.
Yes.
And you've
Yes.
always wanted to help people.
Yes.
Out of all the four, the one that's going to help the people the most is the social worker, UN ambassador.
Yeah. But it's funny how things work out, because I got into American University, got into their honors program, and I was so excited. I'm going to live my United Nations dream, right?
Yeah.
And I was so crushed when I couldn't afford to attend. I got a lot of scholarships, lots of grants, but there was a difference that I had to come up with. And I thought, okay, I won't be able to work for the UN. And I picked out a different university, graduated, and I thought that the UN dream was closed. And then I obviously graduated, did YouTube, fell in love with YouTube, and then I'm sitting in the UN offices because I have a platform and they want me to speak.
I'll just go in from the other door there.
Like, that to me embodies like what I believe like girl bossing is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize when I jumped into the YouTube thing that it would open a door that I thought was once closed. But I think having enough faith in myself to just keep going and being like, okay, I'm going to keep pushing. And then somehow, somewhere I landed in the UN office, and then I'm on the floor talking about things that matter, talking about refugee migration, Islamophobia, the importance of the immigrant story, like all of these things. And I remember the person at the UN that I was talking to saying to me, because I told them, like, you don't understand, I wanted to work for you. I'll never forget, she said, Nabela, you might be able to make more of an impact now with how you'll be working with the UN than you would have had you worked for it. And that was so important for me to hear, that maybe my destiny was working with them in this capacity, and maybe that could make a bigger impact. And I needed to know that things might not always work out the way you hope for them to, because something bigger is coming.
I think that's the beauty of YouTube. And what I love about it is that you're able to use your platform to tell other people's stories. And you do that so much. Was that something that was really important for you?
I think, to me, it's always been, I can't just have this platform and it's all about me. That just wasn't what I felt called to do. If my platform could help lift others up in some capacity, especially the communities that I belong in and represent, then I'm doing something that I could be proud of 10 years from now. And that's why my nonprofit means so much to me as well, because if I have people's eyes right now, let's talk about stories that need to be told, issues that need to be addressed, and I feel the most fulfilled when I can do that and allow myself to be a platform rather than just be a spotlight.
And now you're able to go to places like the UN and really advocate, because I'm sure you get so many emails and DMs and letters about people's personal stories and how they're affected.
It's wild. You hear from so many people who also didn't see themselves represented. And so now they finally do through my little page. And I'm learning, like, we have such shared experiences and shared stories that need to be told.
So I have a separate business called I Live Creatives. And what we're known for is a very positive, healthy community. And I'm always trying to break down what are some of the key components to actually keep that momentum and keep that positivity. During COVID, it was really challenging. For you, what were really important things to build up a healthy community?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because it actually changed my life. I started posting on the first day that it was announced that it was a pandemic and we need to be at home. I think it was March 14th. And I remember I was bored. I didn't know what to do. And I was scared because they say it's 2 weeks that we're going to be at home, but I don't know. Some people are saying it might be longer. So what are we going to do? I don't understand. Are we going to die? Like, it was just so many thoughts, right? So what I did was I just documented what I did that day, and I filmed it and I posted it on TikTok and on my Instagram, and it went viral. And then I did it every single day. And it was actually to help my own anxiety, but it ended up helping other people cope because they saw how I just got through the day. I used to call it quarantine routine, and it built such a strong community. So many people started to look forward every single day. And then it just culminated and became a movement. And then, quarantine wasn't really a thing anymore. It was more like social distancing. So I switched the name from quarantine routine to what I think it became, which was Pockets of Peace. And every day, or on most days, I document the moments throughout the day that brought me peace, the little moments of stillness that I wanted to celebrate. It's truly the most everyday things. I'm cooking a meal for my husband, I'm cleaning, I'm writing in my gratitude journal, and I just share it in video form. And people have really felt inspired to find those moments every single day in their lives that are peaceful and make time for it. So it's been great.
On your channel, one of my favorite videos is the one with the mirror on the pier. That one, girl, it broke my heart. You were able to just come to her, truly empathize with how she, the mean things that were being said to her. You could truly empathize with that. And I really felt like you were there for her at that moment.
Yeah, I think it was important for me because I know that it must come from a place of hurt to want to hurt somebody else. And so I did start to use my platform to talk about it because it's so easy to just shame people that are bullies. But I'd rather think about the root of the problem. And, we've got a lot of people that need healing and that need encouragement. I want to help people, or at least send them my love.
So I wanted to pause for a quick second because cyberbullying is a horrible experience to go through alone. And I wanted to let listeners know that we've also included resources in the show notes of this episode for anyone that is looking for support. So I wanted to shift toward the topic of beauty standards. How did this even happen? Why do they exist? And what role do they play?
I think beauty standards exist for many reasons. First and foremost, for profit. The idea that under eye bags are bad is so that we can sell products to get rid of them, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that your weight is something that needs to be perfected, and it's so that we can sell diet pills and skinny teas. And that's really one of the big reasons for why these standards are continually perpetuated. And then we can't deny the fact that European standards of beauty have dictated us throughout history. Back home in Bangladesh, people use skin whitening creams to look fairer, to look more like the European standard of beauty. Mm-hmm. This stuff is rooted not just in profit, but also in history. And it's also rooted in the fact that hate sells. But self-love is liberating. Understanding that your insecurity is designed for profit, I start to be like, I am no longer going to fall for it. And I became free of that and decided not to wait until I was thinner or be happy. That's when my life changed and began to really change for the better.
Yeah, and I'm always going back and forth about it because I love a cat eye. And I've been wearing a cat eye since I was in college. But I always wonder, is it because I don't feel beautiful without makeup? Yeah. But then at the same time, my cat eye makes me so happy. There's a point where it's controlling me more than I'm using it to express myself. How do you navigate that?
There was a time in my life where I wouldn't leave the house without makeup on. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even go throw out the garbage. And that's when I remember my brother once told me, because I finally did leave the house because I was in a rush. I was in my pajamas. I was much younger. And I remember he was driving and I got back in the car. He's like, wow, you just did that without any makeup on. And because it was a crutch for me. And this was before YouTube. So I kind of came into YouTube with a much healthier perspective of myself and my relationship with makeup. Because if I feel like I can't live without it, that's when I know I have to start to make myself so that I can uncover what's going on. And now my relationship with makeup is so fun, and it's not something where I need it to feel beautiful. Even with my platform, I've always made it very clear makeup isn't a necessity, it's a beautiful accessory. But I totally understand what you're saying because I've been there.
Yeah, that's a good test. It's like, am I addicted to this, or do I need to test it for a second? Challenge that a little bit.
Absolutely.
You've got I would say 4 businesses, right?
Girl, I listen, you would think I'd know when to stop, but I genuinely feel so blessed every single day that I'm just like, okay, so what can I do? How can I give back? But yes, I do have 4 businesses. I can break them down for you if you'd like.
Yes, let's do it, because we'll visualize it. Boop, boop, boop.
Okay, so it actually is funny because if you go to my website, loveandnoor.co, and you click about, there's actually a tree to show.
Oh, yes.
Like breakdown of my bit. I needed to. I was like, I need my audience and those that are interested in my career to know what's going on. So
the about page is a chart. I love that.
It is. I need you to go on to it and look.
Okay.
It's wild. It's really a chart. You go on to loveandnoor.co. My last name Noor means light, so the company's name is Love and Light. And then you go to about, and then it'll show you at the top is Love and Noor. That's my digital media company. That is like the parent company to everything. Love and Noor is at the top, and then under it houses everything that I've created that help me spread love and Noor to the world. So whether it is my Nabela Noor home community, which is my homemaking community that's been growing through my Pockets of Peace series. Then there's Ziba, my self-love brand. That's my other company. And then there's Noor House, which is my nonprofit scholarship program that's based in Bangladesh that helps provide education and resources to young girls that are struggling with poverty. And so am I missing anything?
And yourself.
And then there's myself, which falls under there as well, which is basically my brand, my image, my likeness, my platform. That also falls under the Love and Noor umbrella, and that requires its own level of managing, navigating Ziba. I'm actually wearing our launch for next week. It's a really beautiful, gorgeous sweater that I'm so in love with. So this is launching next week for my self-love brand, and it's just an amazing community as well. And then Nabela Noor Home just hit 500,000 followers today, and I'm so proud of it. It's just growing every single day.
So Ziba is mostly is a place where you can shop and buy goods, right?
Yes. So it's basically my clothing and lifestyle brand, and it's also a community focused on self-love. So how can we help dismantle this age-old idea of beauty standards, and how can we help you in redefining beauty through our platforms? And that includes our clothing offering, where I've designed every piece, and it's ethically made, inclusively designed, and it also gives back to girls' education, because when you purchase from Ziba any product, a portion of each sale goes to Jago Foundation, which houses my nonprofit in Bangladesh. So it goes back and gives back
together.
Yeah, everything always works together. It's like the Marvel universe, I think, but like
you have
the
an
Love and Noor.
ecosystem. You're making an ecosystem that works together, and I really resonate with that, because I feel like I try to do that as well. Like maybe that's me being opportunistic in my own world, but it's easier for me to kind of create these rabbit holes that lead to each other.
Always.
But I never intentionally do that. Like when you, was Ziba the first official business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ziba was the first official business under Love and Noor. So once we created Love and Noor LLC, and we wanted to then create our first brand to live underneath it, it was Ziba. And then after that, everything happened. The Noor House then was founded, and we were so happy to have a nonprofit. And then it just made sense for them both to be working together in some capacity. If I'm going to sell a product, how can I give back to kids in Bangladesh, which is what I do with my nonprofit. Then when I started to make the quarantine videos and really getting into the world of homemaking, naturally Nabela Noor Home just blossomed. People are asking for a cookbook. They're asking for a home line. They're asking for all of these things that have just birthed from organic content. That's just been really fun.
I love that. So Nabela Noor Home is more of a media platform in terms of like a business.
Yeah, for now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think people are really excited about a potential cookbook, which I am not going to say whether or not that's being made right now.
But that's a definite foreshadow right there. We should cue some music there. Oh, maybe that's not
And
good.
people are, that one music was like,
No,
it's like suspicious music.
yeah, that wasn't the right one.
Dun, dun, dun. But yeah, Nabela Noor Home for right now. It's a community where we celebrate life through finding our pockets of peace each day. Right now it's content that celebrates life, but eventually it'll translate into product.
Was it hard to build out Ziba for you? Because I've been
Yes.
dabbling in product, and man, making content and building websites is so much easier than
Yeah.
building product.
Yeah.
But you're also
No, go
trying to
ahead.
do it differently as well, because you're also catering to a lot more sizes,
Yes.
which is also really tough. Like, how do you even
Yeah.
deal with inventory?
Well, it's really tough because before becoming a designer myself, I would always hear brands use the justification of, we don't carry larger sizes because, they charge more for more fabric, or we don't carry large sizes because there's no demand or it's too much inventory. And I was like, boo-hoo, like there's the average size of a woman in America today is 14, 16. I think it might have changed to 16, 18. So naturally, if that's the average size of a woman in America, then that's your average consumer, and you're intentionally keeping them out of the conversation. And that's a problem. So I wanted to be a part of solving that problem. I think the biggest and best businesses are born from filling a need. And I knew that that existed because I can only go to a few stores in person and find my size. Otherwise, I have to shop online. And I wanted to just be a part of changing that. I also wanted to not have to shop from a plus line or a curve line, but it's just all one. That was something that I wanted to help dismantle. So with Ziba, there is no Ziba Plus, there's no Ziba Curve, it's just Ziba. And we have a vast size range from the traditional extra small to the traditional 5X, but we replaced the traditional names to powerful words of affirmation. So extra small is in the world of Ziba, passionate, and that goes all the way to worthy, which is our traditional 5X. And people love shopping and it being an inclusive experience. The existence of these affirmations doesn't mean that we're hiding our size. We love our size, we embrace our size, but it's just about seeing ourselves as more than our size. But there are so many challenges when you're designing, especially like I've made it a point to where I'm not charging more for larger sizes. However, that's something that people do try to do. I'm just like, so what, we're punishing people now? No, I'm not doing that. That's just not who I am. So I made sure that my prices are the same across the board. Also making sure that everything fits beautifully for someone that is passionate all the way to someone that's an independent. That's been a challenge that I'm so happy to have overcome.
What was hard about it?
Oh my gosh, girl. Each product has taken me several months to design. My first product was a cardigan. It's the girl of my dreams cardigan. It took me a little over a year to design because I needed it to be perfect on all sizes and get it to a price point that made sense because accessibility matters to me. And when you're making things ethically, people want ethical clothing, but they don't want the ethical clothing prices. And that's an important distinction because the reason why you're able to get that cheap piece most of the time is because it was made unethically. So because I've made it a point to make sure that everyone is being fairly paid, all of that makes it a complicated process. There's nothing
love
that like
that. I think that's the
Yeah.
future. And you have to wait a little
Yeah.
longer, but you know what? That's not
Yeah.
as wasteful. That's so good. I feel like a lot of content creators get approached
Yes.
by manufacturers to build out beauty lines, whatever they want. But it sounds like clearly you are in the manufacturing process. You're doing your own design and and development.
Yes.
Was
Yes.
that really important for you too?
Yes.
It's harder.
With all of, oh my gosh, with all of the love and respect, my friends and peers who may have elected that route, right? Because they want to work smarter and not harder, because I believe in that mantra so much. I'm working on it for 2021. I respect anybody who partners with the manufacturer and understands their strengths and weaknesses and understands the strengths and weaknesses that a partner can bring them. I totally get that. And Ziba does have a partner. The difference is, though, I am 100% involved from start to finish, from everything down to the fabric, to the design, to every single piece from the website we developed. Everything has been a really collaborative experience and a labor of love.
Yes. And so you're on all the emails. Those threads get long.
Gosh, I need a deep breath. I need a deep breath.
Well, so obviously you built all these different businesses because you wanted to. But
Yeah.
at some point, some of them are going to take over the lives of others. how is your life split up like this month? How do you do that?
So I do have an internal team, and then I also have my team in LA, right? My manager, my publicist, my agent, without whom I couldn't do anything. I love them so much. Then I have my internal team that works for Love and Noor. So these are my producers, people that work with me to manage this entire ecosystem, to handle the content creation, the social media management, the day-to-day, and making sure that we are watering every garden. And so without them, it would be very difficult to juggle. A lot of graphs and tables and charts and Monday meetings and a lot of coordinating, but it's important.
Yeah. So tactically wise, every Monday you guys have a stand-up with the entire team?
Yeah, so it's an all hands meeting. This is what we're projecting for the week. I think a lot of times content creation sound like you just create the content and then go, but there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of strategy. Because we offer more than content, we have our nonprofit, the brand that has product, we have a lot to juggle. And so definitely includes lots of meetings, lots of conversations, lots of planning days.
Brady, your producer, was saying that he was one of the first people that were outside of the family, because it was a family business for a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So, yeah. Brady was our first producer that we hired who was non-family. It became more real when we had hired people under Love and Noor who were not family. We were like, oh my gosh, we're like building something pretty exciting. And then we hired more and more. And now it's so fun to be like, wait, this started in my bedroom, and now like we've got people and a team, and we're creating amazing things, and we're launching things, and people are wearing the things that we're launching, and it just becomes so interesting to go from the thought to reality.
One thing I felt as creative director slash CEO, I've become a blocker.
What do you mean when you say you're a blocker?
Meaning like several people need things reviewed. Some things I just prioritize first, even if it wasn't first in. So they just kind of like simmer. But in my mind, this one isn't as timely or important right now as that one.
Yep.
But I don't know if you've cracked it.
No, I feel like I'm sitting in a support group right now because like I needed to hear that's something else that someone else deals with. Yeah. Because honestly, it's a dance every day. It's trying to figure out what is the action item that must get done today versus something else that we are also working on, but maybe could be pushed a little bit, but then some things are pushed too far. It's a lot. And trying to be the person to determine what should be pushed and what should be the priority. It's just, I haven't cracked the code. I was hoping you had it for me.
I was like, and your turn.
Yeah, I was like, what? I really thought I was in a support group for a second. I felt so seen. I was like, wait, this is going to be great. I'm going to know what to do now. I really please, anyone listening, please, for the love of God, let us know.
Let us know. I mean,
let us know.
I think one thing that I have done is I have simmered down on the excitement of my genius ideas. And I'm like, girl, just calm down about that fucking idea because you're going to overwhelm people because they're not thinking like that idea is genius. They're thinking, how do we get this idea done? And so that's the two things that I do is simmer down the excitement. Let me sleep on it. It deserves a night to sleep on it.
Yep.
And the second thing is if I really want to do it, then do the work of figuring out what components need to happen so that people feel a little bit more calm that it's been thought through.
Yep. I feel that so much because lately I've been having so many ideas of more things that I want to launch. And I've had to sit back and think, okay, how do we perfect our systems now before I introduce more things that are going to need more systems? And I don't want my creativity to be what actually ends up hurting me. I want it to be something that keeps the engine going in a good way. I totally resonate with the thought that I need to think it through so that people can feel calm. I don't want people to feel like, there she goes again, coming up with a new thing. Because I could just do it all day like, you know? But I think the lesson for me lately has been, how can I do things and do them in a way that is thought out? That's so important. Also, a good idea can still be a good idea and be done a little bit later. You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%. There's no way that I will ever extinguish the amount of ideas I have. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I just needed to realize was like, girl,
Yeah.
you're fine.
And like there are some things I really thought I wanted to do that I just put a pin on because I was like, you don't have to do necessarily everything. And that helped me. When I realized one of the things that I wanted to do was already being done by so many others. And how does entering this space, how is that pushing the needle further? Or is it just so that I can have it? And so understanding like it is what I want to create, something that isn't either being done before or maybe there isn't enough of. Maybe they've been done before, but not in the way that I want to do it. And then I feel good about it. And I'm like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Oh, 100%, because especially with content creation, TikTok is actually the perfect example because it's like,
yeah,
look, this is a trend. What's your take on it? And
Yes.
that's all we're doing. And it rewards you
Yep.
for doing your own take. But yet you can
Yes.
still start from the same conversation.
I love that. That's
You know?
probably the best way anybody could have ever explained
Everybody's
it.
all
Yeah,
like, let's get on
exactly.
TikTok right now.
Listen, I love TikTok. I'm
I
like
love
such
TikTok.
I love TikTok. I mean, right now, my community there has been incredible, and it's just an amazing place for people to be a part of conversations and have viral moments, and I really love it.
Yeah. I want to bring up Seth because we're big Seth fans over here.
Same.
Yeah, you're like,
I'm the president of the fan club, so it's fine.
what is it? How do you feel he supports you and how has that changed?
Oh man, so funny because for a while there was this like running meme, the whole Instagram husband thing, and it really made me sad back in the day. Like I have friends who are in the same situation. Our partners are not just making content with us, but they're a part of integral decisions and they almost take on roles of like leadership. And so for Seth, we run our company together. Everything from payroll to HR, anything logistical operations, he handles. And then I handle everything creative. So I couldn't do it without him. It just couldn't exist and couldn't operate as smoothly as it does if it wasn't for him.
Yeah. I work with my husband as well. And
love.
We've been figuring out our workflow and our skill sets. Number one, we realized that if we're going to be efficient as two people, then there has to be absolute trust and no resentment if anything goes wrong or whatever. But because we had that trust and we started slipping in naturally to operations and creative. And Daniel is definitely, he's very similar to Seth in that he is the logical one and he's also ops and maintenance. And
Yes. Oh,
that's where he thrives too.
same. Exactly. And I couldn't agree more. Together, we try to work smarter, right? Yeah. So knowing what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are is important. Like when I'm having our creative meetings, Seth does obviously provide his feedback, but he's not over there like trying to create a mood board for me. Like he knows like, and then also what he's trying to get stuff done when it comes to our team members or figuring out the logistics. I'm not going in there with a calculator. Like I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, and he knows his. So we complement each other in that way. I couldn't imagine doing it without him.
I love that. I love that you're surrounded by so much great support everywhere because you give a lot. I was reading this book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, and he was talking about how givers can sometimes overgive and not set boundaries.
Yeah. What? This is therapy. Keep going. But I just sat down for therapy. I love it.
What is the role of boundaries for you in giving?
Listen, I'm going to be really honest.
Okay.
I am struggling daily with this exact thing. And it's important to share that even if I talk about self-love, that doesn't mean that I've got it all figured out. I'm not the best at knowing how to establish boundaries. I am working on this. What I remind myself every single day is that I cannot pour from an empty cup. I cannot pour from an empty cup. I cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's helped me because I always want to be helpful or generous, but I need to make sure that what I'm doing isn't doing more harm than good. And then when it comes to giving, making sure that it's healthy, that you're not not exhausting yourself. Because then what's left, right? Whether it's through little mantras like that, like, I can't pour from an empty cup. I have to fill my cup. I have to take time for myself. I have to know when to say no. No is a beautiful thing. No is a powerful thing. But I have to be so honest in that I myself am working on this.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any tips, let us know. Because definitely, yeah.
What are some indicators in your daily life that kind of show you the cup is getting a little empty?
You know, my body has become a big billboard of what's going on. Sometimes I feel like my body will, like, honestly make me almost sick so that I have to slow down, like, so that I have to stop. Sure. Like, I'll start to feel under the weather. And I know this is a little bit wild, but I've lately been so run down to where I need to, like, lay down and take a day, because I know that is an indication you've been pouring and pouring and pouring, but you just need to stop. And so I don't encourage anybody to wait until their body tells them, because you've gone way past all of the warning signs. And there's so many warning signs. Noticing that you're on your phone too much, or you haven't been able to make time for something that you normally do. Like, an everyday indicator for me is if I don't make time for my gratitude journal, something's awry.
Ooh,
you know, if I didn't make time for that show that I really, really love, like, what's going on? You know, like, little things. There are signs in the world. If you just pay attention to them, then you'll know maybe I haven't been giving myself the same love or attention or kindness that I may be so freely giving to others.
I love
and
that.
Just listening.
That's great. Well, so what we want to do in the show notes is make, like, a little worksheet, and perhaps this is the question. Like, brainstorm all the indicators that could potentially lead to you feeling like your cup is empty.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a really powerful one. I think it'd be so helpful for people to really think about, at what point do you realize maybe you've been putting yourself on the back burner? You know, sometimes for me, it's like shallow things. Like when my nails start to chip, that might sound really weird. And not like a little chip. I'm saying, like, when they are just all sorts of messed up, I'm like, okay, this is a manifestation of how little I've put into myself in these past few weeks. You know, there's little things. What's one for you?
My cheek. It's this weird thing where I kind of, like, bite my cheek. And so whenever that happens, then I'm like, whoa, you need to calm down. You're not thinking about what's happening right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This would be so helpful for people, I think. Like, you have to, because we do need to identify, like, we need to identify the moments where we start to lose ourselves in the thick of everything. Yeah, I think it's so important.
Yeah, because what I realized starting my business, I was reading a lot of books and strategies, and there's one that was talking about having weekly goals versus monthly goals, or even daily goals versus weekly goals, so that it gives you the opportunity every day to check in versus waiting for something really bad to happen. So I used to do this thing when I was in the video game industry. I was always waiting for my performance review with my boss, which happens quarterly, if not. And that wasn't enough time to, like, check in with myself. Right. So then I was like, girl, Puno, you are going to check in every morning. And just be, hey, I'm going to be the best boss that I ever wanted. And just be like, hey, how's it going? You know?
I love that. I so love that. I love that. And it's so funny you say that, because, like, I genuinely believe, and I say this all the time, I will not reserve my happiness for a later date or a later wait.
No.
And I think there's so much synergy there, because even the idea of checking in with ourselves or having goals that feel manageable, like, we shouldn't be waiting. It should be a daily check-in. I'm not going to wait until a performance review to feel accomplished or to feel like I did something worth celebrating. So I love that idea. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Love it.
Sweet. So I want to end with my final question. How has your definition of success changed for you?
My whole life, I really thought that success was something that you would earn and that it would come, like, as money or status or reputation, or in the world of social media, the currency is followers, right? So this would determine success. But what I've learned is actually, to me, success is all of these things not actually influencing your perspective of yourself. To me, is a successful person, loves themselves unapologetically. They have found joy in things that are not necessarily worldly. I feel the most successful when I'm with Seth and my dogs and we're just together and we're cooking and we're having a deep conversation and we're feeling genuine joy, and it's not because of anything that was given to us besides each other. I feel the most successful when I'm wearing something and I look in the mirror and I feel good about it and it wasn't influenced by anybody else. Loving yourself unapologetically is truly one of the best ways to live a successful life, but finding those moments in each day that can be celebrated, whether that was just taking time to watch your favorite show or write in your journal, and doing that consistently, that's successful to me.
Oh, I love that. I was like getting all teary-eyed because I remember when even just this morning, I just had this moment with Daniel and we were just like hugging, and then my cat Muad'Dib was like, she's like always wanting to get in the middle of us all the time, but then she just snuggles.
So does my dog Nori.
Oh, Nori.
Keep going.
But like just having that time where you can just feel the oxytocin, and just like breathe it in, and it's like this beautiful warm feeling. It's really nice. I love that.
Don't you feel like the richest person in the world in those moments? Like I really feel like money can't even equate. Yeah.
It's like
unbelievable.
It's like actual physical feeling of warmth.
Yeah.
That I'm just like,
it's so true. And I've been feeling it so much lately. I look at Seth and I'm like, I think this is our best year of marriage, because we just are at this place where joy is in like the weirdest, smallest things. I will take a long drive in a car with my favorite music playing over any lavish, luxurious, big anything. And determining what will make you happy in each day and doing just that, even if it's big or small, is success.
Can you teach us some Bangla?
Yes, I can teach you some Bangla. What do you want me to say?
Oh, it's Bangla. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
So what about I love myself?
Ami nije ke bhalobashi.
Ami nije?
Yeah, nije ke bhalobashi.
Nije. Is it nije kab? Nije kab?
Ke.
Nije ke.
Bhalobashi. Yeah, ami nije ke bhalobashi. Yeah.
Ami nije.
Look at me like reminding me.
Ami nije ke bhalobashi.
Thank you so much, Puno. I had so much fun with you.